Hey there, you fabulous old souls of mine. Ever wonder what kind of crazy shit you'd do for $1,000,000? It's your pal, John Doe, 58 and still kicking it in this sleepy town, spinning yarns for my favorite crew, you lovely ladies who keep my coffee hot and my gossip hotter. Picture me on my porch, creaky chair and all, ready to dish a tale that's got more spice than your book club's wine nights. It's about Maya, a fierce gal with a limp and a dream, and Daniel, a cocky rich bastard who thinks he can buy love. Will it crash or burn? Grab your tea, sweethearts, and let's get cozy. Drop a comment. What's the wildest deal you'd take? Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, 'cause this old man's got stories that'll make you blush. Let's roll, your 305 fam. What's good? It's your boy, Johnny Blaze, back with a story that's gonna light up your soul like a Miami sunset. Picture Maya Reynolds, a badass black architect fighting to save her dreams, and Daniel Whitman, a cocky millionaire with a plan that's anything but straight. Will their fake marriage spark real love, or burn everything down? Where you at, Miami, NYC, or across the globe? Hit the comments, smash that subscribe, and ring the bell, 'cause this 305 drama's about to pop off. Let's dive in. The Calle Ocho night market was a damn riot. Salsa drums thumping through the humid air, the sweet burn of Cuban cigars curling around Maya Reynolds as she pushed through the crowd. At 34, she was used to the stares, some for the limp she'd carried since a car crash at 16, others for her curves that didn't scream South Beach perfection. Tonight, she ignored them, her focus locked on Carlos Delgado, the investor who could save her sinking architectural firm. Her bad leg ached under the weight of her bag, stuffed with sketches for a pitch that was her last shot to keep her dream alive. Her phone buzzed. Lila, her little sister. Don't let Miami chew you up. Sis, call me. Maya smirked, typing back, pitching now. I'm good. But she wasn't. Her firm was bleeding cash, her team's paychecks bouncing, and the weight of it sat heavy on her chest. The bar was a hole in the wall, its neon sign buzzing Café Cubano, the air thick with rum and sweat. Maya ordered a mojito, the ice clinking against the glass, while Daniel got a whiskey, his fingers drumming the counter like he owned it. They traded small talk, her architecture hustle, his real estate empire, but his eyes kept flicking to her, assessing, like he was reading a blueprint. So, Maya, he said, leaning forward, his voice dropping low, smooth as the whiskey in his glass. You ever take a crazy swing to fix your problems? She raised an eyebrow, the mint sharp on her tongue. What's that supposed to mean? Whitman, his smile was sharp, predatory. I've got a deal. My company's in deep shit bad press, rumors of shady deals. I need to look like a good guy, not some elitist prick. A wife, someone real, grounded, would sell that story. You play the part for a year, I'll pay you $1,000,000. Maya froze, her glass halfway to her lips. The bar's chatter faded, leaving only the thud of her heart and the salsa beat pulsing outside. You're shitting me, she said, her voice low, dangerous. You think you can just buy my life? Not your life, Daniel said, unfazed, his eyes locked on hers. Your time. You said your firm's struggling. $1,000,000 could save it. Right? It's business. Maya, you need cash. I need a narrative. Win-win. Her fingers tightened around the glass, the cold biting her palm. She wanted to splash the mojito in his smug face, tell him to go to hell. But the truth was, a knife her firm was weeks from folding. Her team's livelihoods on the line. $1 million could rebuild everything. Prove she wasn't a failure. Still, his arrogance made her blood boil. "You're a real piece of work," she said, leaning back, her voice dripping with scorn. "Why me? You don't even know me." Daniel's eyes flicked over her worn sneakers, her defiant stare, the bag stuffed with sketches. "You're real," he said, his voice softer, almost genuine. "Not some polished trophy wife. People will buy it a woman who helps a stranger, who fights for her dreams. That's the story I need." Maya's jaw clenched. The bar's neon buzzing overhead, the salsa's rhythm mocking her. "This is some fucked up fairy tale," she said, standing, her bad leg protesting. "What's the catch?" "No catch," he said, sliding a business card across the counter, his name embossed in gold. "Meet me tomorrow. Rooftop bar in Coconut Grove. We'll sort the details. Think about it. Maya. 1 year. 1 million. You in." She snatched the card, her fingers brushing his. A brief jolt of warmth that made her pause. The bar's lights flickered, casting his face in shadow, then light, his eyes unreadable. She wanted to say no, to walk away from this asshole and his games. But the weight of her firm, her dreams, held her still. "I'll think about it," she said, pocketing the card, her voice cold. "But don't expect me to bow." Wittmann, his laugh was sharp, like he relished her fire. "Wouldn't dream of it. Tomorrow." Maya. The next evening. Maya stood in a rooftop bar in Coconut Grove, the Miami skyline glittering below, the ocean's waves a distant hum. The bar was all sleek glass and fairy lights, the air alive with Latin jazz and the clink of martini glasses. Her stomach churned as she faced Daniel across a private booth. A contract laid out like a challenge. The lawyer, a slick woman with a tight bun, rattled off terms: 1 year of marriage, public appearances, no side romances. Maya's pen hovered over the paper, her hand trembling. The jazz's rhythm a taunt in her ears. "You sure you're down for this?" Daniel asked, his voice softer, almost hesitant. He sat in his wheelchair, his suit midnight blue, but his eyes held a flicker of doubt, like he knew this was more than a deal. Maya glared, her voice low, fierce. "Don't play concern now, Daniel. You're buying a person. Own that shit." His jaw tightened, but he didn't look away. "I'm buying a story. Maya, you're the one signing." She wanted to tear the contract apart, to storm out and leave his smug ass behind. But the memory of her empty office, her team's worried faces, stopped her. With a muttered curse, she scrawled her name. The pen scratched loud against the jazz. Daniel signed next, his hand steady, but his fingers brushed hers as he passed the pen. A slow, deliberate touch that sent a jolt through her. His skin was warm, his cologne leather and cedar wrapping around her like a net. She pulled back, heart racing, hating the heat his touch sparked. "Done," the lawyer said, collecting the papers with a practiced smile. "Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Wittmann. Save the confetti." Maya snapped, standing, her bad leg wobbling. The booth felt too small, Daniel's presence too big. "Where to now?" "My place." Daniel said, wheeling toward the elevator, his voice calm but edged. You're moving in. Part of the deal. The drive to Daniel's South Beach mansion was a blur of neon signs and palm trees. The ocean's hum, a constant undercurrent. Maya sat in the back of his chauffeured SUV, clutching her bag, the contract a lead weight in her mind. The mansion loomed ahead, all glass and white marble, perched on the edge of the sea. Waves crashed against the shore, their rhythms steady but menacing, like a warning she couldn't ignore. Inside, the place was a dam palace, chandeliers dripping crystals, floors gleaming like mirrors. Maya's sneakers squeaked on the marble, marking her as an outsider. Daniel led her to a guest suite, bigger than her apartment, his wheelchair gliding silently, his presence filling the space. This is yours, he said, gesturing to the room, its silk sheets and ocean view screaming money. We've got a charity event next week, first public outing. My stylist will sort your look. Maya's eyes narrowed. Sort my look? What? I'm not good enough as is. Daniel's lips twitched, a spark of amusement in his eyes. You're plenty good, Maya. But the press loves polish. You want this to work. We play the game. Game. She spat, dropping her bag with a thud. I'm not your puppet, Daniel. Don't expect me to smile and curtsy like some South Beach Barbie. Noted, he said, his voice low, almost teasing. Get some rest. You'll need it. As he wheeled away, Maya sank onto the bed, the silk cool against her skin. She pulled out her phone, texting Lila. Signed the damn deal. I'm screwed. Lila's reply was instant. You're a queen. Sis. Don't let that rich boy dull your shine. Maya tried to laugh, but her chest tightened. She limped to the window, the ocean's waves glinting under the moon, their roar a mirror to her racing thoughts. In her bag, the blueprint she'd glimpsed at Carlos's Pitch a Meridian project with notes Corvus. Keep quiet felt like a secret she wasn't meant to find. Carlos's wary glance at Daniel replayed in her mind, a puzzle piece that didn't fit. This wasn't just about her firm anymore. Something bigger was brewing, and she was caught in the middle. The next morning, Maya was unpacking when a sharp knock echoed through the suite. She opened the door to find a woman, long legs, red lipstick, a designer dress hugging every curve. Her beauty was lethal, the kind that stopped hearts. Maya, darling, she purred, her voice dripping with fake sugar. I'm Vanessa Cole, Daniel's friend. I hear you're his new project. Maya's stomach dropped, recognizing her from tabloids. Daniel's ex, a real estate shark with claws. His wife. Actually, Maya said, her voice steady, but her insecurities roared. She saw her reflection in the mirror too heavy, too plain, too other. Vanessa was everything she wasn't. Vanessa's laugh was sharp, cutting. Wife. Oh, honey. You're a PR stunt. Daniel's type is, well, not this. She gestured at Maya, her eyes raking over her curves, her limp. Maya's fists clenched, her nails biting her palms. Funny, she said, stepping closer, her voice low, dangerous. Seems like he upgraded from you. Vanessa's smile faltered, but she recovered, tossing her hair. Enjoy your moment, sweetheart. It won't last. She sauntered out, leaving a cloud of perfume and venom. Maya slammed the door, her heart pounding. She didn't know why Daniel had picked her, but Vanessa's words cut deep, stirring doubts she'd fought for years. She pulled out the blueprint again. The notes. Corvus. Keep quiet. A cold warning. Whatever Daniel was hiding, she'd find it. This marriage was a mess, but Maya Reynolds didn't back down from a fight. Yo. Fam, how we feeling? That contract showdown was pure 305 heat, right? Is Maya gonna school Daniel's cocky ass? Or will Vanessa's shade bring her down? Drop your thoughts in the comments. What's the wildest deal you'd sign for $1 million? If you're vibing with this Miami drama, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell. The next part's gonna crank up the fire. So stay locked in. The Miami heat clung to everything. A sticky weight that made Maya Reynolds' skin glisten as she stood in front of the mirror in her guest suite at Daniel Whitman's South Beach mansion. The coral sundress she'd borrowed from his stylist hugged her curves too tightly, its vibrant hue screaming money she didn't have. At 34, she knew her reflection too heavy, too plain, her bad leg a scar from a crash that had stolen her teenage years. She tugged at the hem, muttering, "You're in deep shit, Maya." It had been 3 days since she'd signed Daniel's damn marriage contract $1 million to play his wife for a year, save her failing architectural firm, and keep her team from the unemployment line. It sounded like a lifeline at the rooftop bar in Coconut Grove. But now, surrounded by marble and chandeliers, it felt like a cage. Daniel's smug grin haunted her, and Vanessa Cole's venomous jab. You're a PR stunt cut deeper than she'd let on. Her fingers traced the scar on her knee, a reminder of who she was, who she wasn't. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, Lila's name flashing. Maya answered, putting it on speaker. Yo, sis, you holding up in that rich boy's castle? Lila's voice was pure 305 fire, laced with the hip-hop beats she lived for. Barely, Maya said, limping to the bed and collapsing onto the silk sheets, cool against her skin. This place is a damn museum, and I'm the odd exhibit. Daniel's got some art show tonight, our first public stunt as Mr. and Mrs. Whitman. His stylist's trying to polish me. Polish Lila's tone turned sharp, like she was ready to throw hands. What? Like you're some rough draft, screw that. Maya, you're a queen, limp and all. He's lucky you're even there. Maya wanted to believe her, but the mirror's truth was louder. She'd clawed her way through a field that didn't want black women, let alone ones who didn't fit the mold. But Daniel's world, South Beach, with its perfect bodies and perfect lies, made her feel like she was drowning. Thanks. Lee, she said, her voice soft. You hitting Miami soon. I need my ride or die. Bet, Lila said, her grin audible. Flying in tomorrow. We're hitting Little Havana, getting you some real 305 vibes. None of this bougie-ass nonsense. She paused, her voice dropping. You good? Sis. For real. Maya's fingers tightened around her phone, the blueprint she'd swiped from Carlos's pitch burning a hole in her bag. Those notes, Meridian, Corvus. Keep quiet felt like a secret she wasn't meant to touch. I don't know, she admitted. This deal's messing with me. And I found this sketchy blueprint at a meeting. Something about a project called Corvus. Feels Off. Off how Lila asked. Her tone all business. Can't pin it down, Maya said, shaking her head, like it's hiding something big. Carlos, the investor, got weird when I asked about it. Trust your gut, Lila said, and keep an eye on that Daniel guy. Rich folks don't play clean. The Coconut Grove Art Show was a glittering maze of abstract paintings and soft jazz, the kind of place where every smile hid a knife. Maya stood by a neon-lit sculpture, her emerald dress catching the gallery's lights. But her bad leg ached, and the crowd stares prickled her skin. She felt exposed, every glance judging her curves, her limp, her place in Daniel's world. At 34, she was used to being the outsider. But tonight, playing Mrs. Whitman, she felt like a fraud. Daniel was in his element, wheeling through the throng, his tucks sharp as a blade, his charm effortless. He caught her eye and waved her over, his voice low, practiced. Maya, time to shine. Meet some investors. She forced a smirk, limping toward him, the polished floor slick under her heels. Sure thing. Hubby, she said, sarcasm dripping. Meant only for him. The crowd parted, their eyes heavy, assessing. Daniel introduced her to a blur of names: art collectors, real estate moguls, faces that blurred into one. She talked up her firm, her voice steady, but their smiles were polite, dismissive, like she was Daniel's accessory, not a player. A man in a gray suit approached, his silver hair and calm demeanor out of place among the flashy crowd. Ms. Reynolds, he said, extending a hand, his voice smooth but guarded. James Harrington. I knew your associate, Marcus Whitman, talented guy. Shame what happened. Maya's breath caught, her hand freezing in his. Marcus, her ex, gone 6 months. His heart attack still a raw wound. You knew Marcus? She asked, her voice sharp, searching his face for a lie. James's eyes flicked to Daniel, then back to her, a shadow crossing them. An old friend, he said, his tone vague. We worked on some projects. We'll talk soon, I'm sure. He slipped away before she could press, leaving her with a chill that had nothing to do with the gallery's air conditioning. Daniel wheeled closer, his brow furrowed. What was that about? He asked, his voice low, edged with something she couldn't place. Nothing, Maya said, her mind racing. James's mention of Marcus, his cryptic vibe, it felt tied to the blueprint, to Corvus. She pushed it down, forcing a smile. Just networking. Right. He studied her, his blue eyes piercing, but nodded. Right. Keep up the charm. Maya, you're doing fine. Just try to look less like you're plotting my murder. Her laugh was sharp, bitter. Keep talking like that. Whitman, and I might start planning it. His lips twitched, a spark of amusement breaking his cool facade. Noted. You've got fire, I'll give you that. The next day, Lila's arrival was a damn lifeline. She stormed into the mansion like a hurricane, her hoop earrings glinting, her laugh louder than the ocean outside. Sis, this place is straight up loco, she said, flopping onto Maya's bed, her sneakers scuffing the silk. You're living like a 305 queen. But you look like you're ready to bolt. Feels more like a prison, Maya muttered, unpacking a box of old sketches, her bad leg propped on a chair. Daniel's an ass. His ex is a viper. And I'm supposed to play happy wife through it all. Lila sat up, her eyes narrowing. Then don't. You're Maya Reynolds. Built a firm from the ground up. Survived worse than some rich boy's ego. Let's ditch this place, hit Little Havana. Get some real vibes. Maya hesitated, the blueprint's weight tugging at her thoughts. But Lila's energy was a spark she couldn't resist. They headed to a tiny cafe on Calle Ocho. Its walls plastered with faded photos of Havana, the air thick with espresso and nostalgia. The jukebox played Guantanamera, its slow rhythm pulling Maya back to a night with Marcus, his arms around her, his promises soft but fleeting. She shook it off, sipping her cortadito, the coffee's bite grounding her. Sis, you're overthinking, Lila said, snapping her fingers to the beat. Daniel's got you twisted, but you're stronger than this. Tell him to shove his contract and own your shit. Maya's lips twitched, a real smile breaking through. You make it sound so easy, Lee. 'Cause it is, Lila said, grinning. You're a queen. Act like it. Back at the mansion. Maya's resolve hardened, but it cracked when she overheard Daniel in his office, his voice low, clipped. On a call. She's just a means to an end, James. This deal can't get messy. The words hit like a slap, cold and final. She froze in the hallway, her breath catching, the cafe's warmth draining away. She'd known the marriage was fake, but hearing it so blunt, so dismissive, cut deeper than she expected. She limped to her room, slamming the door, and sank onto the bed, her eyes burning. Fuck him, she whispered, pulling out her phone to book a flight back to Chicago. She was done being his pawn, but her fingers brushed an old sketchbook, a note tucked inside Marcus's handwriting, a relic from their breakup. Her heart twisted, and she opened it, her hands shaking. Maya, I'm sorry I couldn't be what you needed. You deserved more than my secrets. I never told you about my brother, Daniel, or my family. Their world money. Power wouldn't accept us. I loved you, but I was too weak to fight. Forgive me. Marcus. Her breath hitched, the room spinning. Daniel was Marcus's brother. The realization crashed over her, cold and suffocating. Marcus had lied, hidden his family. And now she was tangled in a fake marriage with the brother he'd kept secret. Was this why Daniel chose her? Did he know about her and Marcus? That night. Maya found Daniel in the mansion's garden, a secluded pocket of palms and moonlight. The ocean's waves a steady roar beyond the hedges. The air was thick with salt and jasmine, the moon casting silver streaks across his face, highlighting the sharp lines of his jaw, the intensity in his blue eyes. He wheeled toward her, his white shirt open at the collar, a glass of whiskey in his hand. You've been ghosting me all day, he said, his voice low, rough. What's the deal? Maya. She stood by a palm, her fingers digging into the bark, the wood rough under her palms. The deal. How about you treating me like a damn tool, I heard you. Daniel. She's just a means to an end. Real fucking classy. His eyes widened, a flash of guilt crossing them. But he recovered fast, his voice sharp. You knew this was a contract. Maya. Business. Don't act like I broke your heart. Her laugh was bitter, slicing through the waves' hum. Heart. You think I give a shit about your feelings? I'm here for the money, same as you're using me for your image. But don't talk about me like I'm nothing. Daniel's jaw clenched, and he wheeled closer, the space between them shrinking, the air crackling. Moonlight painted his face in silver, softening his edges, making him look almost human. You're not nothing, he said, his voice dropping, rough with something raw. You're fire. Maya. I didn't sign up for that. Her breath caught, his words a spark in her chest. He was too close, his cologne leather and cedar wrapping around her, his eyes burning into hers. The ocean roared, its rhythm matching her pulse. And his hand reached out, fingers grazing her shoulder, warm and deliberate. The touch sent a jolt through her, her skin tingling under his calloused palm, the moonlight glinting off his silver-streaked hair. Her heart pounded, and for a moment she wanted to lean in, to feel the heat of him, to forget the lies. Don't, she said, stepping back, her voice shaky, her bad leg wobbling. His hand lingered, then fell. The waves crash, a mocking echo. You don't get to play me. Daniel, I'm not playing, he said, his voice low, almost a growl. But you're not walking away. Not yet. She turned, her limp carrying her back to the mansion. But his words, your fire followed her, sinking deep. The note from Marcus burned in her pocket, and James Harrington's cryptic warning echoed in her mind. This wasn't just a contract anymore. It was a web of secrets, and she was caught dead center. The Miami night was electric, heavy with the threat of a storm, the air thick with salt and the promise of chaos. Maya Reynolds stood in her suite at Daniel Whitman's South Beach mansion. The note from Marcus, her ex, gone 6 months, clutched in her trembling hand. His words. I never told you about my brother. Daniel, sliced through her like a blade. Each one a reminder of the lies that had defined their love. Marcus had hidden his family, his world, and now she was trapped in a fake marriage with his brother, a man who saw her as a means to an end. Her reflection in the window stared back, braids loose, eyes tired, the scar on her bad leg a map of battles fought. What the hell am I doing, she muttered, tossing the note onto the bed. The blueprint she'd swiped from Carlos's pitch lay beside it. Its cryptic notes. Meridian. Corvus. Keep quiet, taunting her. James Harrington's words at the Coconut Grove Art Show echoed in her mind. I knew Marcus. We'll talk soon. The way he'd looked at her, guarded but knowing, felt tied to the blueprint, to Marcus's death, to something bigger than her deal with Daniel. Her phone buzzed, Lila's name flashing. Maya ignored it, her thoughts too tangled for her sister's fire. She needed space, clarity, something to silence the storm in her chest. Downstairs, the mansion was quiet, the only sound the distant crash of waves against the shore. Daniel was out, probably prepping for tonight's PR stunt, a beachside party to sell their marriage to Miami's elite. Maya slipped into a black dress Lila had insisted on, its neckline daring, hugging her curves in a way that made her feel both powerful and exposed. She limped to the mirror, her bad leg protesting, and forced herself to meet her own gaze. "You're a queen," she whispered, echoing Lila's words. But the doubt lingered. Vanessa's venom. "You're a stunt cutting deep." The South Beach party was a glittering escape. White tents glowing under lantern light. The ocean's waves a steady heartbeat beneath the hum of Miami's elite. Maya stood by the shore, her heels sinking into the sand, the warm breeze tugging at her dress. The lanterns swayed, casting golden flickers across the crowd, their laughter mingling with the salsa band's sultry rhythm. She felt the stares, some curious, others judging her curves, her limp, her place beside Daniel Whitman. At 34, she was used to being the outsider, but tonight, playing Mrs. Whitman, the weight of it was suffocating. Daniel wheeled through the throng, his tucks sharp, his charm a polished weapon. He caught her eye and beckoned, his voice low, warm. "Maya, come work the crowd. You're stealing the show." She forced a smile, limping toward him, the sand shifting under her. "Sure thing." "Hubby," she said, sarcasm lacing her tone, meant only for him. He introduced her to investors, art patrons, faces that blurred into one. She talked up her firm, her voice steady, but their nods were polite, their eyes sliding to Daniel, like she was his shadow, not a player. A familiar figure approached James Harrington, his silver hair catching the lantern light, his suit understated but sharp. "Ms. Reynolds," he said, his voice smooth, a hint of caution. Enjoying the evening, Maya's pulse spiked, Marcus's note flashing in her mind. "It's fine," she said, her voice cool, searching his face. "Didn't expect to see you here." "James?" "You and Daniel tight." James's eyes flicked to Daniel, then back to her, a shadow crossing them. "Business acquaintances," he said, his tone vague. "I was closer to Marcus. He spoke highly of you." "Maya. Said you had a sharp eye for details like blueprints." "Maybe." Her breath caught. The word blueprints a spark in the dark. "What's that supposed to mean?" she asked, her voice low, sharp. "Just an observation," James said, his smile thin. "Be careful what you dig into. Some secrets are dangerous." He slipped into the crowd before she could press, leaving her with a chill that cut through the night's heat. Daniel wheeled closer, his brow furrowed. "What was James on about?" he asked, his voice edged, like he sensed the shift. "Nothing." Maya lied, her mind racing. James knew about the blueprint. Maybe Corvus. Was he warning her or threatening her? She pushed it down, forcing a smirk. Just charming the locals. Right. He studied her, his blue eyes piercing, but nodded. "Right. You're doing good." "Maya, just loosen up a bit. You look like you're ready to bolt." Her laugh was sharp, tinged with anger. "Maybe I am. Whitman, this whole circus is your game, not mine." His lips twitched, a spark of something amusement, respect breaking his cool facade. "Fair enough, but you're in it now." Might as well own it. The party was in full swing when thunder cracked, the sky splitting open, rain pouring down like a curtain. The crowd scattered, tents flapping, lanterns flickering as guests ran for cover. Maya laughed. The chaos, a strange relief, her dress soaking through as she stood by the shore, the sand cool under her feet. Daniel grabbed her hand, his grip warm, urgent. "This way," he said, pulling her toward the open beach, away from the tents, the rain drenching them both. The beach was empty, the lanterns' glow faint through the downpour, their light dancing on the waves. Maya's dress clung to her, heavy and cold, but Daniel's touch was fire, his shirt plastered to his chest, outlining every muscle. He stopped, his eyes dark, hungry, the rain blurring his features but not the intensity in his gaze. "Maya," he said, his voice rough, almost lost in the storm. "I'm done pretending this is just a deal." Her breath caught, the waves roaring, matching her racing pulse. She should have walked away, remembered his words. She's a means to an end, Marcus's lies, the contract chaining them. But her body moved, stepping closer, her hands resting on his shoulders, the wet fabric warm under her fingers. The sand shifted, rough against her knees as she knelt, her face inches from his. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Don't fuck with me. I'm not," he said, his hands sliding to her waist, fingers digging into her hips, anchoring her through the rain. He pulled her down, their lips crashing, the kiss a storm of need and defiance. The rain pounded, its rhythm blending with the waves' crash. The lanterns flicker a heartbeat in the dark. His lips were hot, tasting of whiskey and salt, hungry, claiming. Her fingers tangled in his wet hair, her body pressed against him, the sand gritty against her skin, every touch electric. The world dissolved, no contract, no lies, just the heat of his mouth, the press of his hands, the storm swallowing their gasps. His fingers traced her back, slow, deliberate, sparking fire under her soaked dress. She kissed him harder, a low moan escaping her, the waves' roar drowning it out. For a moment, they were untouchable, the rain a shield against the world. Then a voice sliced through, sharp, venomous. "Well, isn't this romantic?" Vanessa Cole stood under a black umbrella, her red dress stark against the storm, her lips curled in a smirk, moving fast. "Daniel." Maya jerked back, her face burning, the rain suddenly ice cold. Daniel's hands dropped, his expression hardening. "Vanessa, get the hell out of here," he growled, his voice tight. Vanessa laughed, pulling out her phone, its screen glowing through the rain. "Oh, I'm staying. Check this out." "Darling." She flashed a photo, Maya and James at the Cuban cafe in Little Havana, their heads close, looking intimate. "Your wife has a side hustle. Who's the silver fox?" Maya's stomach dropped, the photo a gut punch. It was James, talking about Marcus, but the angle made it look damning. "That's not what it was," she said, her voice shaking, the sand heavy under her. Save it," Daniel snapped, his eyes blazing as he turned to her, rain streaming down his face. "What the hell?" "Maya, you're cozying up to James behind my back." "Daniel, listen," she started, but his voice cut like steel. "We're done here," he said, wheeling back toward the tents, the rain swallowing his form, the lantern's glow fading. Maya stood frozen, the beach spinning, Vanessa's laugh a knife in her ears. "Poor thing." Vanessa purred, stepping closer, her umbrella a dark halo. "You really thought he'd pick you? Run along, sweetheart. This game's too big for you." Rage surged, hot and blinding. Fuck you. Vanessa. Maya spat, shoving past her. The rain stinging her eyes, the sand clinging to her dress. She stumbled toward the shore, her bad leg buckling, her heart heavier than the storm. Daniel was gone. The tent's lights a blur, leaving her alone, soaked and furious with him. With herself. With the secrets piling up. Back at the mansion. Maya paced her suite, her wet dress discarded for a hoodie and sweats. The sand still gritty on her skin. The kiss replayed his lips, his hands, the way he'd made her feel alive until Vanessa's photo shattered it. She wanted to scream, to confront Daniel, but her phone buzzed, an unknown number flashing. Against her better judgment, she answered. Maya Reynolds. The voice was smooth, familiar. James Harrington. We need to talk. About Marcus. About Corvus. Her grip tightened. The ocean's roar outside deafening. What do you know about Corvus? She demanded. Her voice sharp. It's a money laundering scheme, James said, his tone low, urgent. Marcus uncovered it fake real estate deals. Millions funneled through Meridian Corporation. He got too close, and they killed him. That blueprint you found, it's a piece of the puzzle. You're in danger. Maya, meet me tomorrow. Noon. Coconut Grove Marina. Come alone. The line went dead, leaving Maya staring at the blueprint on her bed. Its notes, Meridian, Corvus. Keep quiet, no longer just a mystery, but a death sentence. Marcus's note burned beside it, his lies tying her to Daniel, to this web of danger. The kiss, the photo. James's warning it was all too much, and she was caught in the middle, with a man she couldn't trust, and a love she couldn't deny. The Miami morning was a slap of heat and humidity, the kind that made Maya's clothes stick to her skin before she even stepped outside. She stood in her suite at Daniel's South Beach mansion, the blueprint from his office spread out on the bed next to Marcus's letter. James Harrington's words from the night before echoed in her head. Marcus wasn't killed by a heart attack. He was murdered. The weight of it pressed against her chest, heavier than the storm that had soaked her during that damn kiss with Daniel. The kiss she couldn't shake, no matter how hard she tried. Her phone buzzed, Lila's name flashing. Maya answered, bracing for her sister's usual fire. Sis, you ghosting me now. Lila's voice was sharp, but worry bled through. What's good? You sound like shit. Maya sighed, running a hand over her braids. I'm in deep. Lee found out Daniel's Marcus's brother, and now some guy's saying Marcus was murdered. Something about a project called Corvus. I'm meeting him today to get answers. Murdered Lila's voice spiked. Maya, what the fuck? You're not going alone. This sounds like some 305 cartel bullshit. I have to. Maya said, her voice firm despite the knot in her stomach. If Marcus was killed, I need to know why. And Daniel. He's part of this, whether he knows it or not. Lila huffed. Fine. But you call me the second you're done, and watch that rich boy. He's got you all twisted up. Maya's mind flashed to the alley, Daniel's lips on hers, the rain blurring everything but the heat of him. Twisted up was an understatement. I've got this, she said, more to herself than Lila. Talk soon. She tucked the blueprint into her bag, along with Marcus's letter, and headed out. Daniel was nowhere in sight, probably still pissed about Vanessa's video. Good. She didn't have the energy to face his accusations, the memory of his voice. So this is your game stung. But she pushed it down. She had bigger problems than his trust issues. Wynwood was alive with color and chaos, graffiti murals blazing under the midday sun, the air thick with the smell of tacos and spray paint. Maya limped through the crowd, her bad leg aching, her eyes scanning for James Harrington. She spotted him at a corner cafe, his silver hair and tailored suit out of place among the hipsters and artists. He stood as she approached, his expression guarded but not unkind. "Ms. Reynolds," he said, gesturing to a chair. "Thanks for coming. Let's skip the pleasantries," Maya said, sitting down, her voice sharp. "You said Marcus was murdered. Prove it." James leaned forward, his voice low. Marcus stumbled onto a money laundering scheme. Corvus. It's a network of fake real estate deals, funneling millions through shell companies. Meridian Corporation's at the center. But it goes higher politicians, maybe even a senator. Marcus was building a case, but he got too close. His heart attack was no accident. Maya's stomach churned, the cafe's chatter fading to a dull hum. And the blueprint I found. It's part of this. James nodded. Likely a cover for one of their projects. Marcus hid evidence documents. Maybe more. You've got something they want, Maya, or they wouldn't be watching you. Watching me. Her voice sharpened, her hand tightening on her bag. "Vanessa Cole," James said, his eyes narrowing. "She's not just Daniel's ex. She's tied to Meridian, maybe deeper. That video she showed Daniel, it's a warning. They know you're digging." Maya's mind raced, Vanessa's smirk flashing in her memory. "Why are you telling me this? What's your angle?" James's jaw tightened. "I owed Marcus. I warned him to back off. But I didn't do enough. Now I'm trying to make it right. Find the evidence. Maya, it's your only leverage." Before she could press him, her phone buzzed a text from an unknown number. "Give up the blueprint, or you're next." Her blood ran cold, the cafe spinning. She shoved the phone at James. "This your idea of leverage?" His face paled. "They're moving faster than I thought. Get out of here, now. I'll contact you when it's safe." Maya didn't wait. She limped out of the cafe, her heart pounding, the Miami sun suddenly oppressive. The crowd felt like a trap. Every face a potential threat. She needed to get back to the mansion, to figure out her next move. But as she hailed a rideshare, a black SUV screeched to a stop across the street. 2 men in dark suits stepping out, their eyes locked on her, and she knew they weren't here for coffee. Maya's office was a small, cluttered space in downtown Miami, a far cry from Daniel's mansion. She'd rented it for her firm, a symbol of her dreams. But now, it felt like a target. She locked the door behind her, her hands shaking as she spread the blueprint on her desk. The notes, Meridian, Corvus. "Keep quiet," stared back, taunting her. She was about to call Lila when the door rattled. A heavy thud echoing through the room. Maya Daniels' voice was sharp, urgent, followed by another thud. "Open the damn door." Her heart lurched, but she unlocked it, and he wheeled in, his face tight with worry. "What the hell's going on?" he demanded. "Lila called me. Said you're mixed up in some murder shit. Then I hear you're running around Wynwood with James." She bristled, her anger flaring. "You don't get to barge in here and play hero, Daniel. Not after you believed Vanessa's bullshit video." His jaw clenched, but his eyes softened. Just a fraction. "I fucked up. Okay, I shouldn't have trusted her. But I'm here now, and you're in trouble. Talk to me." Before she could respond, the window shattered, glass exploding across the room. Maya screamed, dropping to the floor as a figure in black climbed through, a gun glinting in his hand. Daniel reacted faster, wheeling forward and yanking Maya behind her desk. "Stay down," he hissed, his voice steady despite the chaos. The man fired, the shot deafening, splintering the desk. Maya's pulse roared, her bad leg throbbing as she crouched, glass cutting into her palms. Daniel grabbed a heavy stapler from the floor and hurled it, catching the man's shoulder. The gunman cursed, stumbling, giving Daniel time to pull Maya toward the door. "Go," he shouted, but another figure blocked the exit, a second gunman. Maya's heart stopped. But Daniel didn't hesitate. He rammed his wheelchair into the man's legs, knocking him off balance. The gunman fell, his weapon skittering across the floor, and Maya scrambled for it, her hands slick with blood from the glass. "Daniel, move," she yelled, aiming the gun with shaking hands. The first gunman recovered, lunging at her, but she fired, the recoil jarring her arm. The shot missed, but it was enough to make him dive for cover. Daniel grabbed her arm, pulling her out the door and into the hallway. They stumbled into the stairwell, Maya's limp slowing her, Daniel's wheelchair barely navigating the narrow space. "Elevators that way," he panted, pointing. They reached it just as footsteps pounded behind them, the gunmen closing in. The doors slid open, and they tumbled inside, Maya slamming the button for the ground floor. The elevator hummed, the fluorescent lights harsh, casting Daniel's face in stark relief. His shirt was torn, a cut on his forearm bleeding, but his eyes were fierce, locked on her. "You okay?" he asked, his voice rough. "No," she said, her voice shaking. "Those guys, they're after the blueprint. James said it's tied to Marcus's murder." Daniel's face darkened, but before he could respond, the elevator dinged, opening to the parking garage. They hurried to his SUV, Maya helping him transfer from the wheelchair, her hands trembling but steady. The engine roared to life, and they peeled out, tires screeching, the Miami skyline blurring past. They ended up at a seedy motel on the edge of the city, the kind with flickering neon signs and peeling paint. The room smelled of stale cigarettes and bleach, the single bulb casting a sickly yellow glow. Maya locked the door, her pulse still racing, while Daniel wheeled to the window, peering through the blinds. The rain had started again, a soft patter against the glass, the neon sign outside buzzing like a dying insect. "We're safe for now," he said, his voice low, but his hands gripped the arms of his chair, knuckles white. "What the hell did James tell you?" Maya sank onto the bed, her bad leg throbbing, her hands stinging from the glass cuts. She pulled the blueprint from her bag, spreading it out. "Corvus," she said, her voice steady despite the fear. "It's a money laundering scheme. Marcus found out, and they killed him. That blueprint's part of it, some fake real estate deal. Vanessa's involved, maybe deeper." Daniel's eyes widened, anger flashing across his face. Vanessa. Shit. I knew she was trouble. But this... He ran a hand through his hair, the neon light catching the silver streaks. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because you didn't trust me, she snapped, standing, her voice rising. You saw that video and assumed I was playing you. I'm not the one hiding secrets. Daniel. He wheeled closer, his voice dropping to a growl. I fucked up. Maya, I get it, but I'm here now, bleeding for you. Doesn't that count for something? Her breath caught, his words hitting hard. She looked at him, his torn shirt, the blood on his arm, the raw intensity in his eyes. He'd protected her, risked his life without hesitation. It wasn't just the contract anymore. It was something real, something terrifying. Fine, she said, her voice softer, almost breaking. But we're in this together now. No more bullshit. He nodded, his gaze never leaving hers. Together. She grabbed a towel from the bathroom, kneeling beside him to clean his cut. The neon light flickered, casting shadows on his skin, highlighting the strength in his arms, the vulnerability in his expression. Her fingers brushed his forearm, warm and firm, and she felt his pulse under her touch, steady but fast. The room was quiet, the rain's patter the only sound, until his hand caught hers, stopping her. Maya, he said, his voice rough, almost a whisper. He pulled her closer, her knees brushing his chair, her face inches from his. The neon buzzed, the light painting his eyes in shades of red and blue, and she saw it: desire, regret, something deeper. His thumb traced her wrist, slow and deliberate, sending a shiver through her. Her breath hitched, the air between them thick, electric. Don't, she said. But her voice lacked conviction, her body leaning in despite herself. His hand slid to her waist, fingers grazing the curve of her hip, warm through her shirt. The touch was fire, igniting every nerve, and she felt the heat of him, the strength in his grip. His breath was hot against her cheek, his lips so close she could taste the whiskey on them. I'm sorry, he murmured, his voice raw, for not trusting you, for everything. Her heart pounded, the rain's rhythm matching its beat. She wanted to pull away, to protect herself. But his touch anchored her, his eyes pleading. She leaned in, her lips brushing his forehead, a soft, fleeting contact that made him inhale sharply. The moment stretched, the neon flickering, the rain a steady hum, until she pulled back, her hands trembling. We can't, she said, standing, her voice shaky. Not now. Not like this. Daniel's jaw tightened, but he nodded, his hand dropping. I know. But I'm not giving up on us. They spent the night piecing together what they knew. James had texted a cryptic warning. Find Marcus's evidence. Everglades. Be careful. Maya pulled out the letter from Marcus, rereading it under the motel's dim light. A line stood out. If something happens to me, check where we began. Her mind flashed to their first date, a cabin in the Everglades where they'd spent a weekend, away from the world. It was a long shot, but it felt right. "We need to go there," she said, showing Daniel the letter. "Marcus hid something documents, maybe more. It's our only shot to prove Corvus and clear his name." Daniel's eyes narrowed, but he nodded. "Okay, but we're not safe here. Those guys won't stop." As if on cue, her phone buzzed again. Another text from the unknown number hand over the blueprint. "Or you're both dead." Attached was a photo Maya and Daniel fleeing her office, taken from a distance. Her blood ran cold. The neon light suddenly menacing. "They know where we are," she whispered, her voice trembling. Daniel grabbed her hand, his grip firm. "We're getting out of here, now." They packed quickly, the blueprint and letter stuffed into her bag. The rain had stopped, leaving the motel lot slick and gleaming under the neon sign. As they headed for the SUV, headlights flashed in the distance, a black car creeping closer. Maya's heart raced, but Daniel's voice was steady. "Move," he said, and they sped off into the Miami night. The Everglades waiting, dark and dangerous. The Everglades stretched out like a dark, endless maze, the air thick with the buzz of insects and the sour tang of swamp water. Maya gripped the steering wheel of Daniel's SUV, her knuckles pale, as they navigated a dirt road barely wide enough for the vehicle. The headlights cut through the night, catching gnarled cypress trees and the glint of alligator eyes in the distance. Her bad leg throbbed from the tension, and her hands still stung from the glass cuts back at her office. The blueprint and Marcus's letter sat in her bag on the passenger seat. A ticking bomb. Daniel sat beside her, his wheelchair stowed in the back, his face grim as he scanned the darkness. The cut on his forearm was bandaged now, but the blood on his torn shirt was a stark reminder of how close they'd come to dying. "You sure about this place?" he asked, his voice low, rough from the adrenaline still pumping through them. "It's where Marcus took me on our first date," Maya said, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her chest. "A cabin, hidden out here. He said it was his sanctuary. If he hid anything, it's there." Daniel nodded, but his jaw was tight. "And if those assholes from your office followed us?" She glanced in the rearview mirror, the road behind them empty, but ominous. That text, hand over the blueprint. "Or you're both dead," flashed in her mind, along with the photo of them fleeing. "Then we deal with it," she said, her voice harder than she felt. "We're not running anymore." He looked at her, his blue eyes catching the dashboard's glow, a mix of respect and something softer, something that made her heart stutter. "You're tougher than I gave you credit for," he said, a ghost of a smile tugging at his lips. "Don't get soft on me now." "Wittmann," she shot back, but her lips twitched, the banter a thin shield against the dread. The cabin appeared around a bend, a weathered wooden structure half swallowed by vines, its windows dark. Solar panels glinted on the roof, a hint of Marcus's paranoia. Maya parked, the engine's hum fading into the swamp's chorus crickets. Frogs, and the occasional splash of something moving in the water. She helped Daniel into his wheelchair, her hands steady despite the ache in her leg, and they approached cautiously, the blueprint and letter tucked under her arm. "Looks empty," Daniel said, his voice low as he scanned the porch. Pine needles blanketed the steps, undisturbed, but the air felt heavy, like the swamp was holding its breath. Maya found a key hidden under a loose board, Marcus's old trick. using his mother's birthday as the code. The door creaked open, revealing a Spartan interior, a single room with a wood stove, a cot, and a bookshelf lined with worn paperbacks. Dust motes danced in the beam of her flashlight, the air stale but untouched. His sanctuary. Huh, Daniel said, wheeling inside, his eyes narrowing, more like a bunker. Marcus was always hiding something, Maya said, her voice tight as she set the blueprint on a table. She moved to the bookshelf, her fingers trailing over the spine's thrillers. History. Books Marcus never read when they were together. Her heart twisted, the memory of their weekend here sharp as laugh. His hands on her, the promise of a future that never came. Over here. Daniel called, his voice snapping her back. He'd found a painting, a cheap landscape of the Everglades hanging slightly askew. Behind it was a digital safe, its keypad glowing faintly in the dark. Another code. Maya said, her stomach sinking. She pulled out Marcus's letter, rereading the line, "Check where we began. The date he gave me the ring," she said. Calculating quickly, May 15th, 2018. Try 051518. Daniel punched it in, and the safe beeped, the lock disengaging with a soft click. Inside was a waterproof case, heavy and cold. Maya opened it, her hands trembling, revealing a stack of documents, a digital recorder, and a USB drive labeled Corvus Final. A sealed envelope sat on top, addressed to Daniel and Maya in Marcus's sharp handwriting. Daniel's breath caught, his fingers hovering over the envelope. He knew, he said, his voice barely a whisper. Somehow, he knew we'd be here together. Maya's throat tightened, a chill running down her spine. She nodded, and he opened it, the paper crinkling in the quiet. They read it together, the flashlight's beam trembling in her hand. Daniel and Maya, if you're reading this, you've done what I couldn't found each other, found the truth. I'm sorry for the walls I built, for the lies. Daniel, you were always the better man, and I pushed you away. Maya, you saw the real me, but I was too weak to let you in fully. Corvus is a cancer billions laundered through fake real estate, led by Senator Richard Porter and Vanessa Cole. The evidence here: bank records, recordings, memos will bring them down. Trust James Harrington, but watch him. He's playing both sides. If I'm gone, it wasn't my heart. They silenced me. Finish this. For me. For you. I loved you both. Marcus. Maya's eyes burned, tears spilling over as she lowered the letter. Marcus had known he was in danger, had planned for this moment, and still he'd kept them apart. Daniel's hand found hers, his grip warm and firm, anchoring her. He loved you, he said, his voice rough, in his fucked up way. Yeah, she whispered, wiping her face. But he broke us both. They opened the case, spreading the documents on the table. Bank records showed millions funneled through offshore accounts. Memos detailed fake projects under Meridian's name, and the recorder held audio of Vanessa and Porter discussing cleaning up Marcus. The USB drive was encrypted, but Maya recognized the code from her ring 749218, the date etched in her memory. It was damning, enough to bury Corvus and its players. We've got them, Daniel said, his voice hard, but his eyes were on her. searching. But we're not safe here. As if on cue, headlights pierce the cabin's windows. The rumble of engines cutting through the swamp's hum. Maya rushed to the window, peering through the curtains. 2 SUVs, she whispered, her heart racing. They're here. Daniel cursed, grabbing the case and shoving it into her bag. We need to move. Is there another way out? Maya's mind raced, recalling Marcus's paranoia. There's a back door. Leads to a path. He always had an escape route. They hurried to the rear, Daniel's wheelchair navigating the uneven floor with difficulty. The back door opened to a narrow trail, swallowed by the swamp's darkness. But before they could move, the front door splintered, footsteps pounding inside. Fuck! Maya hissed, pulling Daniel into a corner. They're too fast. Daniel's eyes scanned the room, landing on a trapdoor in the floor, its outline barely visible. There, he said, pointing. Maya yanked it open, revealing a narrow staircase leading to a safe room below. A small platform lift was built into the wall, just wide enough for Daniel's chair. They descended, Maya's flashlight shaking, the trapdoor closing just as voices filled the cabin above. The safe room was cramped, concrete walls lined with supplies and a security panel showing camera feeds from the cabin. 4 men in tactical gear searched the room, their leader barking into a phone. They were here, safes open, cars outside. Find them. Maya's pulse roared, the flashlight's beam flickering in the dark. Daniel grabbed her hand, his touch grounding her. We can't stay, he whispered. There's a tunnel look. A steel door led to a passage, likely an escape route to the swamp. But the security feed showed a new figure entering the cabin, Vanessa Cole, her red dress stark against the tactical gear. They're close, she said, her voice cold through the audio feed. Find the evidence, or Porter will have our heads. Maya's blood ran cold, her hand tightening on Daniel's. She's running this, she whispered, rage burning through her fear. We have to stop her. Daniel nodded, but his eyes were soft, searching hers in the dim light. We will, he said, his voice low. But if we don't make it out, I need you to know I'm in this, Maya, for real. Her breath caught, the safe room's walls closing in. The flashlight flickered, casting his face in shadow, then light. His eyes raw with something that made her heart ache. The hum of the swamp seeped through the concrete, the air heavy with damp and tension. His hand slid to her waist, fingers grazing her hip, warm through her shirt. The touch was electric, igniting her skin, and she leaned into him, her hands finding his shoulders, feeling the strength beneath his torn shirt. Daniel, she whispered, her voice trembling. His breath was hot against her cheek, his lips inches from hers, the flashlight's beam dancing like a pulse. The danger above faded, the world narrowing to his touch, his heat, the way his fingers tightened, pulling her closer. She felt his heartbeat under her palms, fast and steady. And for a moment, she wanted to lose herself in him, to forget the guns, the lies, the pain. His lips brushed hers, soft at first, then hungry, a low growl escaping him. The kiss was fire, desperate, tasting of sweat and fear. Her fingers tangled in his hair, damp from the swamp's humidity, and she pressed herself against him, the wheelchair's frame digging into her thighs. The flashlight fell, rolling across the floor, its beams spinning, casting wild shadows. The swamp's hum blended with their ragged breaths, every touch a defiance of the death waiting above. Footsteps thudded overhead, snapping them back. Maya pulled away, her lips tingling, her chest heaving. "We have to go," she gasped, grabbing the flashlight, her hands shaking. Daniel's eyes burned, his voice rough. "We're not done, Maya. Not by a long shot." They moved to the tunnel, Maya helping Daniel navigate the lift, the case of evidence slung over her shoulder. The passage was narrow, damp, the air thick with earth and decay. They emerged in the swamp, the night alive with sounds, splashes, rustles, the distant roar of engines. But before they could orient themselves, a figure stepped from the shadows. James Harrington, his suit mud-stained, his hands raised. "Don't shoot," he said, his voice calm but urgent. "I'm here to help." Maya's grip tightened on the gun she'd taken from her office, her heart pounding. "Help," she snapped. "You led us into this trap. You son of a bitch." James shook his head, his eyes flicking to the cabin, where lights flashed through the trees. "I didn't. I've been playing both sides. Yes, but I owed Marcus. I'm here to get you out. Vanessa's men are closing in, but I've got to contact Catherine West, a prosecutor. She's clean, and she can take down Corvus." Daniel's voice was steel. "Why should we trust you? You're neck deep in this shit." "Because I'm your only shot," James said, pulling out a burner phone. "West is waiting for my signal. Give me the evidence, and I'll get it to her. But we need to move now." Maya hesitated, the gun heavy in her hand. The swamp's chorus roared, the air thick with danger. She looked at Daniel, his face set, his hand still warm from their kiss. "Your call," he said, his voice low. "I'm with you." She nodded, lowering the gun, but keeping it ready. "Fine," she said to James. "But you screw us over. You're done." James's lips twitched, a faint smile. "Fair enough. Let's go." They followed him through the swamp, the mud sucking at Maya's shoes. Daniel's wheelchair struggling but steady. Headlights flashed behind them, Vanessa's men closing in, their shouts cutting through the night. Maya's heart raced, but Daniel's hand brushed hers. A silent promise. They weren't just fighting for Marcus now. They were fighting for each other. The Miami dawn broke over the Everglades, a pale gold light filtering through the cypress trees, turning the swamp's murky water into a mirror of fire. Maya leaned against the SUV, her bad leg aching, her hands still trembling from the night's chaos. The waterproof case of Corvus evidence sat in her lap, heavy with Marcus's legacy. Daniel was beside her, his wheelchair muddy but steady, his face etched with exhaustion and resolve. James Harrington stood a few feet away, speaking into a burner phone, his voice low but urgent. "They're on their way," James said, pocketing the phone. "Catherine West's team will be here in 20. You did it. Maya, Daniel. Marcus would be proud." Maya's throat tightened. The memory of Marcus's letter, "Finish this. For me. For you," stinging her eyes. She glanced at Daniel, his blue eyes meeting hers, steady and warm. The kiss in the safe room lingered between them. A promise unspoken, but unbreakable. "We're not done yet," she said, her voice firm despite the fatigue. "Not until Vanessa and Porter are behind bars." Daniel's hand found hers, his grip strong, his thumb tracing a slow circle on her palm. "Together," he said, his voice low, and she felt the weight of it, not just the fight, but them, what they could be. The distant wail of sirens cut through the swamp's hum, growing louder as federal SUVs roared into view. Catherine West stepped out of the lead vehicle, a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense stride. Her suit was crisp despite the early hour, her presence commanding. Maya Reynolds, Daniel Whitman, she called, approaching. "I'm West. Harrington says you've got the Whitman evidence." Daniel nodded, gesturing to the case in Maya's lap. Everything Marcus collected: bank records, recordings, memos, enough to bury Corvus and everyone involved. West took the case, her expression unreadable, but her grip tight. "Your brother was reckless, but he was brave," she said, her voice softening. "So are you two. We'll need your testimony. But this..." She hefted the case. "This is a goddamn gold mine." Maya's chest loosened, a flicker of hope cutting through the grief. "What about Vanessa Cole's Senator Porter?" she asked, her voice hard. "They're the ones pulling the strings." West's lips pressed into a thin line. "We've got teams moving on them now. Porter's at his Miami estate. Vanessa's holed up in a penthouse. They won't slip through." As West's team secured the scene, Maya and Daniel gave their statements, the swamp's chorus fading into the background. The feds found Vanessa's men in the cabin, disarmed and cuffed. Their tactical gear no match for West's operation. James lingered, his role still murky, but his nod to Maya was almost respectful. "You're tougher than Marcus said," he told her, before slipping away with a federal escort. The ride back to Miami was quiet, the city waking under a haze of heat and neon. Maya leaned against the SUV's window, Daniel's hand still in hers, the weight of the night settling like dust. They'd survived, exposed Corvus, but the cost, Marcus's death. Their own scars hung heavy. 3 months later, the Miami courthouse was a fortress of glass and steel, its halls buzzing with reporters and onlookers. Maya sat in the witness stand, her black blazer sharp, her braids pulled back, her bad leg hidden but aching. The courtroom smelled of polish and tension, the air thick with anticipation. Daniel was in the front row, his wheelchair a quiet presence, his eyes locked on her with a pride that made her heart stutter. The prosecutor, a young woman with West's steel, paced before the stand. "Ms. Reynolds, can you confirm the contents of the evidence you and Mr. Whitman provided?" Maya's voice was steady, honed by weeks of preparation. Bank records showing millions laundered through Meridian's fake real estate deals. Audio of Senator Richard Porter and Vanessa Cole planning to silence Marcus Whitman. Memos detailing the Corvus network, signed by Porter himself. The prosecutor nodded, turning to the jury. "And you recovered this evidence at great personal risk, correct?" "Correct," Maya said, her eyes flicking to Daniel. "We were attacked, chased, nearly killed, but Marcus deserved justice. So did we." The defense tried to rattle her, painting her as a gold digger exploiting Daniel's wealth, but Maya didn't flinch. She'd faced worse than their cheap shots, Vanessa's sneers, her own insecurities, the barrel of a gun. When Daniel took the stand, his testimony was razor sharp. his usual arrogance replaced by a quiet fury that silenced the room. Vanessa and Porter sat at the defense table, their faces pale, their empires crumbling. The verdict came fast guilty on all counts: money laundering, conspiracy, murder. Vanessa's red lips trembled as she was cuffed, her eyes darting to Daniel with a mix of rage and desperation. Porter's head bowed, his political career ash. Maya exhaled, the weight of months lifting. Marcus's ghost finally at rest. Outside, the Miami sun was blinding. The courthouse steps swarmed with cameras. Maya limped down beside Daniel, her hand on his shoulder, their silence louder than the reporters' shouts. Lila was waiting, her hoop earrings glinting, her grin wide. "Y'all did it." "Fam," she said, pulling Maya into a hug. "Told you you're a damn queen." Maya laughed, the sound raw but free. "Couldn't have done it without you." "Lee." Lila winked at Daniel. "You better treat my sis right. Rich boy. I know where you live." Daniel's lips twitched, his eyes warm. Noted. That night, South Beach was alive with light and sound. A charity gala at a rooftop venue overlooking the ocean. The event was a celebration of Maya's firm. Now flush with investor cash, after the Corvus trial put her name in the headlines. She wore a gold dress that hugged her curves, its fabric shimmering under the string lights, her braids cascading over one shoulder. For the first time in years, she didn't flinch at her reflection. She was Maya Reynolds' survivor, architect, woman who'd faced death and won. The rooftop buzzed with Miami's elite, salsa music pulsing through the air, the scent of rum and citrus mingling with salt. Maya stood by the railing, the ocean glinting below, when Daniel wheeled up beside her. His tux was tailored to perfection, his silver-streaked hair catching the light, but it was his eyes soft, unguarded, that stopped her breath. "You look like trouble," he said, his voice low, a smile tugging at his lips. "Says the guy who got me into this mess." She shot back, but her tone was warm, teasing. The trial had changed them, stripped away the contract's lies, leaving something real. He reached for her hand, his fingers warm, calloused, grounding. "Dance with me," he said, his voice rough, almost a plea. She raised an eyebrow, glancing at his wheelchair. "You sure about that?" "Try me," he said, his grin cocky but genuine. The band struck up a slow salsa, the rhythm sultry, weaving through the crowd. Maya stepped closer, her hands resting on his shoulders, his on her waist, guiding her with a strength that made her pulse race. The string lights glowed above, casting their faces in gold, the ocean's whisper blending with the music's pulse. They moved together, not perfect, but real. Her bad leg finding a rhythm with his chair's sway. His fingers tightened on her hips, warm through the thin fabric, each touch a spark that lit her skin. The crowd faded, the world narrowing to his eyes, his breath, the way his thumb grazed her side, slow and deliberate. The salsa's beat thrummed in her chest, her body swaying closer, her lips inches from his. The lights flickered, painting his face in shadows and fire, and she felt it, the pull, the need, the love she'd fought so hard to deny. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice trembling. lost in the music's sway. He pulled her down, his lips brushing her ear, his breath hot against her skin. "You're my home." "Maya," he murmured, his voice raw, breaking. No contracts, no bullshit, just us. Her heart roared, louder than the ocean. And she kissed him, slow and deep, tasting rum and salt. His hands slid to her back, fingers tracing her spine, each touch a promise. The music swelled, the salsa's rhythm matching their pulse, the lights spinning above like stars, her fingers tangled in his hair, her body pressed against him. The wheelchair's frame, a faint pressure against her thighs. The kiss was fire, love, defiance, a claim on the future they'd fought for. The song ended, the crowd's applause pulling them apart, but their eyes stayed locked, breathless, alive. Lila's voice cut through, teasing. "About damn time. You too. Now go make some babies." Maya laughed, her cheeks burning, and Daniel's grin was pure mischief. "Working on it," he said, winking. "Later." They stood on the balcony, the gala's noise fading behind them. The ocean stretched out, its waves glinting under a crescent moon, the neon lights of South Beach pulsing like a heartbeat. Maya leaned against the railing, Daniel beside her, his hand in hers, warm and steady. "What now?" she asked, her voice soft, the weight of the trial, the evidence. Marcus's ghost finally lifting. Daniel's eyes met hers, serious but warm. The man she'd fallen for despite every reason not to. "We build something," he said, his voice low. "Your firm, my company, us. No walls, no lies. You in?" She smiled, squeezing his hand. The ring from Marcus now a pendant around her neck, a reminder of the past. Not a chain. "Hell yeah," she said, her voice strong. "But you better keep up." "Whitman." His laugh was deep, free, and he pulled her close, his lips brushing her forehead, a soft promise. Always. They stood together, the ocean's song wrapping around them, the city alive with light and possibility. They'd face death, lies, and their own fears, and come out stronger. The contract was gone, but what they'd built, love, trust, a future was real, raw, eternal. Yo, 305 fam. What a ride. Did Maya and Daniel steal your heart with that rooftop dance? Or was it the justice for Marcus that got you? Drop your favorite moment in the comments, that rainy kiss, the Everglades showdown, or that salsa heat. Were you watching from Miami, Chicago, or across the globe? Smash that subscribe button and ring the bell for more epic stories. The next one's gonna be straight fire, so don't sleep on it. Peace out.